Kaieteur Radio, keeping you informed.
Demerara and Essequibo 99.1 FM.
Burby's 99.5 FM. Kaieteur Radio.
Good day, welcome to your main newscast right here on Kaieteur Radio. I'm Kevin Smith.
And I'm Amrita Koshal.
And in your headlines today, Guyana oil shipbuilder in hot water as French law group files request to probe corruption allegations against SBM Offshore. Opposition mulls court action over full coverage insurance as ExxonMobil and PPPC government pussyfoot around issue. In the Peru oil disaster, oil company to pay $700 each in compensation to Peruvian fishermen and others. Fisherfolk battered by discouraging environment and cite loss of traditional fishing grounds and low worker turnout. U.S. Deputy Assistant Secretary for two-day visit to Guyana, meetings planned with government, opposition and civil society, and 30 more years for serial rapist. Get the full details of these stories and more after the break.
Nothing in life is free, but the MyDigiCell app is. You don't need to be on a data plan to use the app. You can conveniently chat with Ruby or an agent for help. Check your account balance, activate a Prime bundle, or gift it to a friend. Send credit. Check the Georgetown and Burby's bridge schedules. Activate a roaming plan. Play Shake to Win for cool prizes. So don't worry about a data plan, buddy. Download the MyDigiCell app from the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store today. Digicel, better together.
And now for the news in detail. The French Law Association, Sherpa, recently filed a complaint asking the French National Financial Prosecutor's Office to open an investigation into the corruption, money laundering, and concealment of stolen goods in relation to the activities of extractive industry giant SBM Offshore. Sherpa noted that SBM Offshore, the sole manufacturer of 3 of Guyana's oil vessels, has been flagged in several countries because of its alleged extensive corrupt practices. And in light of those cases, Sandra Cossard, Sherpa's executive director, believes the time has come to shed light on the role of SBM Offshore's French managers in what could be widespread corruption. Sherpa was keen to note in the firm's complaint that in 2014, whistleblower Jonathan Taylor, who was at the time the legal director of SBM, a Dutch oil services group based in Monaco, had denounced an international network of bribes. He had denied that his former employer would have paid $275 million to obtain oil contracts around the world.
And we now tell you that the Speaker of the National Assembly, Mansour Nadir, has chosen to strike out critical clauses outlined in a motion tabled by the opposition on full liability coverage for Guyana's petroleum activities. Even though these details are available for verification through quick research, these clauses were removed as the Speaker concluded they must be based on facts. The removal of these clauses means that they will not be debated in the National Assembly. But leader of the PNCR, Aubrey Norton, has made it clear that the party will not be accepting the degutting of its motion this time around. Norton on Tuesday again called out the House Speaker for what he described as his partisan behavior. Norton explained that the PNCR faction of the coalition will be pushing for legal action to be taken on the matter. Mr. Norton said he believes that civil society ought to be calling for the removal of Mr. Nadir. Already at least 3 members of civil society, as well as Transparency International Guyana, have called for the Speaker to allow a full debate on the opposition's motion.
In other news, Peruvian fishermen and others who were affected by the January 15th oil spill disaster in Peru will receive an advance compensation of $700 each from Spanish oil giant Repsol. The advance compensation to the fishermen and others affected by the spill came about as a result of negotiations done by the government of Peru, which is working towards getting Repsol to assume the economic impact of the spill. It was reported that the spill was caused by shock waves from an undersea volcanic eruption in the South Pacific Ocean. Repsol had underreported the quantity of crude that was spilled.
And on that note, we tell you, facing low catches and the denial of access to traditional fishing grounds, local fisher folks now say that they are losing workers to the unfavorable conditions. This was relayed by boat owners who had congregated at the Meadowbank Wharf yesterday for an environmental consultation exercise regarding the $600 million Port of Redenhoop project that will go toward the environmental impact assessment report for that Region 3 based project. The fishermen requested a second meeting with the consultancy group since they said that it was called at short notice and did not give benefit to many fishermen and boat owners who were absent at the time. Outside of this, the fishermen told the media that they have two main concerns at this time: the poor state of the Meadowbank Wharf and the fact that fishermen are beginning to show less interest in going to sea.
And moving on. The United States Deputy Assistant Secretary for Caribbean Affairs and Haiti, Barbara Feinstein, will visit Guyana on March 24th to 26th. According to a U.S. Embassy press release, Ms. Feinstein is scheduled to meet with the government, opposition, and civil society. The U.S. Embassy also said that Ms. Feinstein's visit underscores the continued importance of the United States that it places on the U.S.-Guyanese partnership. Ms. Feinstein will meet with Vice President Barrett Jagdeo, members of the opposition, CARICOM, the private sector, and civil society. The time has now moved on to 12 hours 13 in Guyana. We will resume after the break.
This is GHK Lal inviting you to join me weekdays from Monday to Friday on the National Outlook for commentary on a range of issues. Immediately after the 12 noon and 7 p.m. newscasts on Kaieteur Radio at 99.1 FM and 99.5 FM. Looking forward to you sharing in the conversation.
And we now return with more news in detail. 45-year-old Isan Germain, who was convicted in 2017 and sentenced to 30 years in jail for engaging in sexual activity with a minor, was on Tuesday handed another 30-year jail sentence for raping a 15-year-old girl. On February 3, 2022, Germain was found guilty on 3 counts of raping a minor by a mixed 12-member jury. He faced trial before Justice Priyasunarayan Bihari at the Demerara High Court. Despite being found guilty, Germain maintained his innocence and told the court on Tuesday during his sentencing that he is working to rehabilitate himself. Justice Sunarayan Bihari stated that she considered the physical and psychological harm the rapist caused towards the victim, and more so, his lack of genuine remorse for his actions. The judge added that there is the likelihood that he will commit the offense again, since he was previously convicted for a similar offense.
And moving on. A motorcyclist is now dead and his pillion rider severely injured after his bike reportedly crashed into a truck on Tuesday night on Kent Street, New Amsterdam, Berbice. The dead man has been identified as 30-year-old father of 2 Joshua Inshanali of Adelphi Village, East Kanji, Berbice, and hospitalized with severe injuries to his head and other parts of his body is Karan Rambarat, also of West Kanji, Berbice. According to police, the accident took place around 23 hours. Both men were picked up in an unconscious state and taken to the New Amsterdam Public Hospital, but were immediately transferred to the Georgetown Public Hospital. Inshanali reportedly succumbed to his injuries yesterday, while Rambarat remains in a critical condition.
Moving on, Jaheim Straker, the Linden schoolboy suffering from a fractured skull, had to undergo emergency surgery last night around 20 hours at the St. Joseph Mercy Hospital to avoid the risk of becoming brain dead. 16-year-old Straker, a student of the New Silver City Secondary School, was reportedly struck to his head with a piece of wood on Thursday last by one of his classmates. He had been admitted at the Linden Hospital but had to be referred to the Georgetown Public Hospital on Monday because no neurologist is based there.
In other news, in November of 2020, the government, through the Ministry of Public Works, invited expressions of interest for the construction of a new bridge over the Demerara River. It was in October of last year that bids were received from contractors for the design, construction, and financing of the proposed four-lane structure. Even though the government said that the contractors will be financing the project, in its 2022 budget, some $21.1 billion was allocated for the construction of the new bridge. To this end, former Minister of Public Infrastructure David Patterson is of the view that this quote-unquote confusion mixed with the government's worrying silence on the project may brew corruption. The MP argued that the country has had negative experiences with design-build-finance models in the past, as he made the case for a complete restart of the tendering process for the new bridge.
Moving on, at a time when potentially every sector in Guyana is expected to expand from increased economic activities due to the oil and gas sector, the Minister of Labour, Joseph Hamilton, is of the view that labour unions may no longer be relevant based on changing business environments and attitudes. Hamilton said that the majority of labour unions in Guyana no longer serve their purpose and have outlived their usefulness. The minister said that local union leaders seem stuck in the past with the primary focus on salary and wages for workers. He pointed out that in his year and a half in office, union leaders have only sought to discuss salaries for workers with less interest in matters of health and safety along with training, among others. And we now move on to your COVID-19 update. The Ministry of Health on a Tuesday revealed that one patient is still admitted in the COVID-19 ICU receiving treatment. Although no new fatalities have been reported for the week, the ministry recorded 6 new infections within the last 24-hour period, bringing the total number of confirmed cases in the country to 63,208. Out of the number of confirmed cases, 34,105 persons are females and 29,103 are males. 12 persons are in institutional isolation, 14 in institutional quarantine, and 104 in home isolation. Additionally, in the 24-hour period, 12 persons have recovered from the virus, taking the total number of recovery cases in the country to 61,865.
And at this time, we now turn the pages of the Kaieteur News to page 7. That is, of course, dedicated to being blunt. In some parts of the world, countries are still losing their people to things like COVID-19 and war. Crime also has been a major bugbear, and Guyanese know this all too well. Compounding this, however, has been the road accidents, almost on a daily basis, and claiming the lives of far too many. With the growing street racing trend, many more are likely to succumb to this fate. Our drivers must do much better on our roadways, no ifs or buts. Slow down, Guyana. Slow down and observe the 5 C's: care, caution, consideration, courtesy, and common sense. Otherwise, the fight for a better Guyana will simply be in vain. And with that, we've come to the end of today's News at Noon. I'm Kevin Smith.
And I'm Amrita Koshal.
Thank you for listening.
Want value for your advertising dollar? Then place your ads on Kaieteur Radio's newscasts. Streamed live on 6 different mediums, reaching hundreds of thousands. Advertise today and watch your dollar grow. Call us on 225-8465 or 226-8210 today.